Most of the white rappers sucked, and they had a hard time.
What was the first hip hop song you ever heard?
Uh, Either something by Run DMC and I don't know what, or Kokomo Fat Boys, the Fat Boys cover of Kokomo. That was the one I remember that I remember. So I don't know. That would be like early '80s.
What was the song that made you feel like, yo, this is what I want to do? Like, I want to be a rapper.
Okay, so that would probably be like the era when I was like, between 10 and 12, like Shook Ones by Mobb Deep, Wu-Tang Clan, just like those formational albums. Nas, because in that 2-3 year period, they all came out.
Right.
Between like the late 92 and early 95, like those like 700 days, that's when you got Enter the Wu-Tang, you got Illmatic, you got Common, you got Common Sense, like you had, you had just a plethora, AZ, Cormega, like all of just, the lyrical guys and those classic Source 4.5, 5 mic albums, just so many of the Purple Tape, they all kind of Liquid Swords, they all kind of came out right in that time period, right? So
Right.
that
Right in
like
that
primed
pocket.
me. Yeah, and then that got me into it. That got me like really like feeling it to some, I just really just want to listen to it all the time and those beats and the cadences and just everything. Devour the lyrics, memorize the lyrics. Then what made me think that possibly I could do it were two things. One was like the backpack wave coming out. That was like 2-3 years later, maybe even 2 years later, when all of a sudden you start having Lyricist Lounge Volume 1, Sound Bombing, Company Flow, whatever. The other thing that happened was there were two other things that happened that were seminal. One was that Pittsburgh itself had an underground hip hop scene. So like we were so privileged in that sense that we could hop on the bus and go to a show in a basement where there were actual dudes freestyling and they had tapes. Like Pittsburgh had a culture. It had people there, Strict Flow, Rook and Bishop. There were people that were doing it already, older, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 years older, who were already doing it. There was a hip hop culture store, Time Bomb, that sold streetwear, fat caps, mixtapes, super underground mixtapes. That was also, the dude Brick that owned it. He was kind of like starting us up. Like he was an underground hip hop dude who also was a hustler, who also went to federal prison. So he was kind of like literally like coaching us up in all aspects of how to be like a white dude in the city, hustling, being on street shit, and also being like relentlessly underground hip hop. Like four elements, whole nine.
Was
So
rapping the first
that
element that
showed
you
me.
got into?
Yeah, I mean, I had a little hand style, never was great, still do it. Always was a toy, but persistent. Got good enough at doing Noun that I can tag it on a street sign or whatever. But no, no, no. I always was rapping. Always wanted to be a rapper. Always wanted to be an MC. And at that point, it seemed very implausible. You know,
How old were you when you wrote your first rhyme?
I think I had experimented very young, like 12, 13, but seriously, probably like 16, probably 15, 16 years old. Yeah, when I really was like, okay, like I think I want to try to actually do this. Like I really, because I started seeing other people who were in the city who like weren't famous. They didn't have videos out. They were just going to shows and rapping. And I was like, even that just seemed like such an unattainable level of skill. But I myself, and not just myself, my friends, the Deadly Scribes, Ambush, Mike Language, Science, all, there was a lot of us. There were dozens of us at Alderdice. We had a whole bench of dudes who broke dance, broke graffiti, DJ'd, MC'd, beatboxed, whatever, made beats. All We all kind of fell into the culture at the same time. It was really, at that point, it was like a really vital time. Like the underground wasn't dead or played out or cooked or any of that. It was kind of like where it was at. It's where
Right.
the energy was.
How would you say the experience was like being a white rapper in those early days? Like, I've heard you say that
It was very hard. You had very little credibility, like none,
but that's what made you
like
so
no
good though,
credibility
right?
whatsoever.
Become so good because it challenged you so much?
Yes, definitely, because you had to battle everybody. Nobody was gonna let you slide. No one. You were never pre-Eminem, especially. I mean, I know that sounds crazy to say, but it's like there was no internet, or if there was, it was nascent dial-up broadband. Everything was done through magazines, mixtapes, and maybe very primitive burn CDRs, wax records. There were white people doing it, but they were few and far between. The place where they were the least represented was rappers. There were much more white graffiti writers, DJs, and b-boys because it was kind of like a more background thing. Um, most of the white rappers sucked, and they had a hard time. So it was like you really, in the lunchroom, in any cipher you were in, at any show, at any open mic, any battle, you already knew you were going to get tried. There was not there it wasn't a speculative thing. It was you were gonna have to battle. You were gonna have to show that you were competent to be there, that you weren't whack, you weren't trash, you weren't a toy, you didn't suck, and that you weren't a bitch. That you were just like the Eminem at the that's why I felt 8 Mile so hard watching it. At that point, I already had some level of success in underground rap battling. I remember being like, knowing how real Eminem was as an underground rapper, because like watching him vomit before he went on, get on stage in front of a majority or almost all black crowd in a city. And it's like, they're there to cook you. You know what I mean? Like, yes, they can be won over, but the default is that you're trash, you don't deserve to be here, and we're gonna boo you off the stage and humiliate you. So that was the
So
background that
you're
I came from. So I don't think I ever had a choice about whether I was gonna battle or not or be good at freestyling. Like, I don't think I ever would have had the opportunity to rap at that point if I wasn't good at those aspects. Like, if I was just like a studio songwriting guy, like now you could do that. But back then, no, it just wasn't gonna be. They weren't gonna let you do that. No.
back then was you really had to show and prove.
Yes. You had to
Got you.
show that you could rap, and you had to show that you were tough enough to literally hold down the mic. You weren't just gonna let people push you off and intimidate you, rap in your face, humiliate you, whatever. You had to have some, resoluteness to it. Had to.
So the experience you're describing, I'm assuming it's like the stereotypical like, oh white boy, what are you doing here, white boy? Like that kind of vibe.
Yeah, so to some extent, yeah. I mean, like, the Pittsburgh underground scene, it was very conscious, you know what I mean? So there were, like, other lyrical rappers. There were also some street dudes too. But even the conscious guys, they're coming from a perspective, rightfully so, of Afrocentricity. Like this is the late 90s, but they're older guys who came up off the Jungle Brothers and Native Tongues and the Roots and stuff like that. And they rightfully, because it's true, saw hip hop as a Black African American culture, Caribbean, descended from those lines. And they're trying to further it in their own underground way in Pittsburgh. They used to call Pittsburgh, they call the way they call like Brooklyn Mecca, and Queens was like Medina, whatever, whatever. Um, they used to call Pittsburgh Mesopotamia because of the rivers. You know what I mean? So it's like even those guys, they were also going to be a little bit staunch about being like, well, what are you doing here? They might not be as ill to you as some dude who's like crazy thugged out, but the energy, the questioning is still going to be the same. Might not be like white boy, get the fuck up before I fuck you up. It might be more like, oh, there's Caucasoids here. Like, are you really like, can you actually rap, bro? Like, what's up with, like, I remember after my first battle where I was horrible, like humiliated myself. I sucked. It was like the first time I ever rapped in front of people. And I was in a battle with fucking Ron Noodles, who's like one of like the great freestyle MCs, period. Like legendary
Right. You were like
freestyle.
15, 16 at the time, right?
Yes, and got cooked. I mean, I was the first time I ever rapped in public. I was holding the mic like I'm terrible, bro. I didn't even know that you had to freestyle because it was like the cannabis era. Like no one had really was telling us anything. We were just like going off of the Source magazine, some like videotapes we saw of like dudes freestyling. Like we had no basis. We were really coming into the culture that cold and just going to these sessions and getting cooked. So I remember the next day on the radio, they had like a little college radio recap of the battle on a hip hop station. And the guy literally said, yeah, a lot of Caucasoids at the battle and they all sucked. He just dagger and I want to fucking kill myself on the first time or the last. But yeah, no. So like, but I will say this. I mean, those spaces. they gave you the ability to have to improve. I remember our first talent show at our high school, which again, I went to like a really live public. I went to Taylor Alderness, Taylor Gang. You know what I mean? I went to a fucking crazy urban public high school, you know? And they that the whole crowd was there for these like literal like gang rappers from Wilkinsburg called Full Scale that were like part of this Wilkinsburg gang called the Law Gang, Larimer and Wilkinsburg. And like this was like no limit era, you know what I mean, like synth beats, whatever. These dudes were just there. I mean, they were there to perform, but they were also just there to be gangsters. You know what I mean? To be like menace to society style fucking gangbangers. Cause like that Crip blood shit was very real in Pittsburgh at that point. We're like these underground rappers, like rapping over a Scheme Team instrumental. Our sound is terrible. Our verses are like all 80 bars, whatever. I tell this story, it's on YouTube somewhere. But Tim, who became a Christian rapper, a very famous one later on, weirdly enough, he had a towel over his head and he pulled the thing down when the beat dropped. And he literally looked like Howdy Doody. He's like a 5'8", 120-pound white dude with like giant Coke bottle glasses and shaved blonde hair. He's like, and I remember, he had this like earnest, like earnest rhyme schemes. He's like, my first impression brings the worst depression. You know what I mean? Like, that was the first thing he said. As soon as he fucking snatched the fucking towel off and they saw what he was in his puffy coat, just thunderous, the whole auditory. Imagine it's like one of those nightmares where you wake up in your underwear in front of your high school, but it's really happening. You know what I mean? He's like, my first impression brings the worst impression. You fucking ice pelting us, like whatever. All bad, bro. All bad. The only thing that happened that day that like saved us was from infamy, from us being just the laughing stock of the whole world, was the fact that like a full scale, no pun intended, a full scale riot broke out at the school with like 50 on 50 brawls in the audience. A vice principal got hospitalized. There were like 100 police cars surrounding the school when we came out. Like it was like a standoff type situation. Like it was
Holy
that
shit.
captured the headlines as opposed to us just, getting utterly humiliated once again. But we went through a lot of that. A
Wait,
lot of
wait,
that.
wait, wait, wait. So this is the situation where they were throwing bottles and at you, and Ron Noodles was there too, like laughing at you guys, right?
Yes, he was. He absolutely was. He was absolutely laughing at us. He was absolutely he was loving it with a giant Cheshire cat grin, loving it, loving every second of it. Absolutely. I mean, I could not have. I literally again, I was like, I should kill myself. I should legit, like, very white kid energy, pritch white kid energy. Be like, yeah, I should kill. Then all of a sudden, I became Kurt Cobain. Yeah, I should just kill myself, bro. Like,
Wait, so how
it's-
how how far apart are the situations from the first battle with him to this talent show?
oh, this all happened in a matter of months, like months or whatever. And then it was like a
Okay.
year later, I beat him in a battle and became like the city battle champion. So like I got better faster, but
Right, right,
we
right.
had to go through a lot
Before
of
we go there though,
humiliation.
before we go
Yes,
there
of
though,
course.
so the first situation though, people when you battled him, right? People were betting money on that situation, right?
Well, not the first time I battled him, because the first time I battled him, he was already known as a very lethal freestyler. And was a lethal freestyler and had perfect presence, holding the mic, his alliteration, diction, rhyme schemes, whatever. And I was, Ichabod Crane up there seeing the headless horseman. But no, the following year, I had kind of proven myself in all of like the smokehouse fights. Nothing sanctioned, no big battles, but all of the like the lunch rooms, the house parties, going on the radio station, whatever. Oh, this dude can freestyle a little bit. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's not bad. And then to me, like, this kid's pretty nice actually, and he's mean. He has a chip on his shoulder. He's chippy. So when I came into there, I was still an enormous underdog, but I was plausible enough that yes, all of the drug dealers and more successful rappers, it was they were betting money. They were betting hundreds and thousands of dollars on the outcome of that battle. Because
Got
again,
you.
pre-internet, it was a cultural event. Now battles are a dime a dozen. At this point, I mean, there was like one per season, two per year for the
Right.
whole city, like big ones. So it's like People think, now it's so easy to do it. People forget back then to even get that many mics together to book the club, to print the flyers, to get that many decent MCs to make a good card. You know what I mean? Like, take
Were y
months to do,
were you
to engineer.
embarrassed after that first battle when you lost?
Oh, fuck yeah. Like I said, I wanna fucking kill myself, bro. Mortally embarrassed.
So,
Mortally.
did that help create a rivalry with Ron? Like, or he just enjoyed being like kind of like a bully at that point?
No, 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 it got even realer. I think he broke into Mike Language's house and stole our shitty beat machine. Like, I mean,
Holy
he really
shit.
was, like, our movie antagonist. Yeah,
So he was the
he
Papa Doc,
enjoyed pushing.
basically.
Yes, absolutely. 100%. 100 except he was way better than that, dude. Papa Doc has nothing. Nothing on that guy.
Wow.
Like he is it's crazy to me that he didn't get more fame in the game battling. I think his timing was bad or something like that because, like, naturally he was good. He didn't even need to, like, practice that much, but he did practice all the time. He was just that good. And again, he was mean. Like, he had ill intent. He did. He had ill intent. He's very different than Diabolic in terms of being a person. Diabolic's like my dude forever. But in the same way that it's like I told someone last night, I was like, battling Diabolic or even being in a freestyle cipher with Diabolic, even if you're very good, is like being in the NFL 5 years ago and you look up like this with your helmet and Aaron Donald is 6 inches away from you, like pawing at the fucking turf. You know what I mean? You're like, oh man, this is gonna be a long fucking day. You're an O lineman and you are who I got.
Right.
You see Aaron Donald line up against you. Like, I was like, that is if you're a rapper and you're in a even if you're directly battling him, if you're in a radio cipher, whatever, and he walks in, you're like, uh-oh, this could go south really quickly if he's in a bad mood, unless you're extremely good. This Noodles had that same energy. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he was thinner, skinnier type dude, and he was a good basketball player too, but same thing. It's like, all right, who I got? Oh, you got Kobe. You're like, oh man, this dude's gonna give me hell. Gonna give me hell all fucking night, bro.